Hi everyone, today I am reviewing a pen that is not a fountain pen. The pen I'm looking at today is this. This is the Pilot Frixion LX. This is the one of the more sort of higher end Frixion pens made by Pilot. It is a metal bodied retractable pen and this sort of matte metal finish, retractable there, with a sort of a chrome coloured clip, and really it's a pretty nice sort of retractable sort of ballpoint style pen. This is a Frixion pen though, as you can see there, it says Frixion. Now I've done a couple of videos on Frixion pens and they're no surprise, they are a well-known element in the ballpoint rollerball gel pen market. And the reason they are well known is because the ink is erasable. So you write, you then, with this particular model, you unscrew the top there and you've got this little rubber bit and that erases it. Now it is not erased the same way as you would erase a pencil. It is erased because friction, hence the name, Frixion, heats up the ink and it is a thermosensitive ink. So it erases it with heat, more or less. That doesn't mean that the whole method isn't without its issues, but that is the way it works. I wanted to talk about this particular model a little bit and then show how it works, show a couple other models, because on my next video, I'm reviewing an item that uses these pens. So more about that in the next video. So basically, metal body, chrome end there, with this sort of bit being sort of plastic with a a sort of a springy clip, metal clip, which acts as the trigger for the mechanism. It's smooth, it's functional, it does the job. It's nice. It's not super expensive. In Australia, this pen retails at a major office supplies retailer for $32. In the US, I've seen it anywhere from $30 US to $45, and I'm sure on particularly sort of the big websites, you'd be able to get it even cheaper than that again. These pens use a refill that you can buy separately. Now, this particular model comes with a black refill. I should say it's got Pilot Frixion there on the front. On the back it says Pilot Japan, and really that's about it. The refill it comes with a black refill. They come in 0.7 or 0.5 millimeter. I have these, which is the 0.5 millimeter blue black refill. And one of those I have put in this pen because that is my ink of choice. Frixion also comes in a couple of other versions, of course. There are many versions, in fact. A couple that I have here are the sort of the more disposable click version. You can see that I think there are certain connections between the two models, shape of the clip, things like that. You know, it's of course a similar size given the fact that it uses a similar refill. There's also the plain, version with the rubber end there, capped version, nice enough. I think that's a 0.7, and then you can get a range of different colors. I have here the purple. There's just about every color under the sun. There's also things like the slim version here, which doesn't use a refill in the same way. It's inbuilt into the pen. A little rubber eraser on the end of the cap there. That's a really simple, probably one of the more affordable versions of the Frixion model. Now, to the refill, you unscrew the end of the cap there. The refill is there. Simple mechanism, like simple refill. Pilot Frixion, and it says 0.5 or 0.5 Japan. Goes in. There's a spring in the end there. You put the refill into there. You screw it back on. And there you have it. So simple, really easy to refill the pen. Those refills are available in a lot of office supply stores, and the pens are available sort of everywhere as well. For size comparison of this particular model, I wanted to show a few different sort of things. Firstly, the ultimate basic Bic crystal ballpoint pen, to give you an idea. Then we've got something like the Pilot G2, which is a really well-known ballpoint pen in the market. And then a couple of sort of slightly different options. We've got a Retro 51 retractable rollerball, and then a Lamy Safari fountain pen, or you could get the rollerball, which is the same size. that this, of course, is a capped pen as opposed to a retractable. So what we're going to do is we're going to just have a very quick write. I'll do a little erase. Now, in my other video about the Frixion pens, you'll see that I do a few things, like I microwave the page, I heat it over heat, like on, with a stove, that sort of thing. I use a hairdryer. Shows that any heat, not just friction heat, will erase the ink. This also means if you leave the book that you're writing in, like in the car on a hot summer day, you are going to lose the writing in that. So something to be aware of with this ink is that it is not permanent in that sense. Now, you can put the book in the freezer and get some of that writing back, so cold will reinstate the ink, but that's not always going to work, as my video also showed. But let's do some writing now. So I've got two sorts of paper here, one which is Clairefontaine paper, which is sort of very fountain pen friendly paper, and we're going to write with both the 0.5 blue black refill and then the 0.7 black refill that comes in this particular pen. So here we have the Pilot Frixion. This is the 0.5 blue black, and I have this in a Pilot Frixion LX pen model. So just for the sake of erasing it in a second, we'll just do some squiggles there. So one thing I noticed, that between the 0.5 and the 0.7 is a big difference in smoothness of the ball. Huge difference, you can probably hear, and this is just in a regular Pilot Frixion pen. Do the same thing, we'll do some little lines. So the black, I think, is actually a little bit on the grey side. It's not necessarily the blackest black from any, like, just for the sake of the exercise. For a super black, just look at the Retro 51 rollerball here. Which is also a very, very smooth refill. But you can see the Retro 51, which is a more, what's it called, a hybrid ink, is a much darker black than the Frixion black, which is this thermosensitive gel ink. So now, as we're here, let's do a rub out test. Now I'll use the eraser that's on the LX. So you can see that it erases. Like, I'm not doing a particularly detailed job here, I'm skipping bits just for sake of the exercise. But you can see it still leaves an imprint of it there, and there's a slight sort of residue, but it does erase quite well. Certainly enough that if you make an error, you can erase that without too much of an issue. And the same can be said, of course, for the black. Now what you'll notice is there is no like rubber residue, well, there is right there, from the on the page. You're not wearing down this rubber nib. It is erasing through friction, not by sort of taking it off the page. What I wanted to do next was just show it on some, this is like a, a Spyrex A5 notebook, which is basic sort of lecture pad sort of style student paper. And let's see it in action on this sort of lower quality paper. So Pilot Frixion 0.5 blue black. And so this is in the Pilot Frixion LX. So you can hear once again, it's not a particularly smooth ballpoint action, but it's okay. The black, once again, smoother, cannot write. And now let's test out that eraser again and see what this does on sort of a lower quality paper. So I actually think it erases better on this paper than it does on the higher quality paper. I'm not sure why, but I think that like it's certainly easier to erase and you get less of that sort of white or sort of clear remainder of the ink marking. So it's an interesting pen. It's an interesting model of little, you know, ballpoint pen, retractable pen. I quite like the model. It comes in a range of colors. There's like a blue, a silver, a green, I think the black obviously, and then like a red and a gold or something like that. This sort of the same matte metallic finish. You know, it's a solid pen at 148 millimeters long. It's a good length. It weighs about 40 grams, so it's not light. It's certainly solid in the hand, and it's very well made. It's an interesting, like I do like the Frixion pens. I don't think the ink is necessarily the most saturated or darkest, but for the practical purpose they provide of being able to erase errors, like the main use I have Frixion pens in my everyday life is something you'll see in the next video, but also I use this red, which is a 0.5. So an older model, I think it's been updated since. I use this when I'm writing in things into music scores because I can erase it if I need to change things, but it stands out on the page so that I can actually, you know, sort of spot it amongst the music notation. So that's a handy way for me to be able to do that. So it's got a good practical purpose. Look, pros and cons for a pen like this. Obviously, let's start with the cons. It's not a real ink. Like it's not the same as like the Retro 51 rollable ink or anything like that. And it is a hot, cold, thermosensitive ink. So if you get it near heat, you're going to lose some of the writing. If you erase it and then it gets too cold, some of that writing will reappear. But there are lots of pros to it. It's super widely available. This model is available through many retailers in the US online, as well as places like Officeworks here in Australia. So super widely available through stationery stores. Refills are super available, also pretty affordable. It's a durable model. It's, you know, retractable, so it's convenient. And you know, you get a wide variety of colors available for the pen. So I think these are a nice option for the Frixion pens. If you want something that's just a little bit nicer than the you know, standard plastic models that you'll see, you know, at your local news agency or office supply store, the LX is a nice version. There are a couple of other sort of slightly fancier versions as well. This is the one that I think is probably for me the most convenient, given that retractable you know, cap there. So yeah, watch the next week's video or the next video to be able to see why I have been highlighting the Frixion pen and what I use it for in my absolute everyday organizational life. Hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can contact me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here or drop me an email, which is also listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, let me know. If there's a way you'd like to support the channel, get in touch and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, be they fountain pens or ballpoints, rollerball, gel pen, Frixion, whatever the case may be. Enjoy your writing, and I'll talk to you later.